This meeting is being recorded.
Hello and welcome to the Enlightened Path podcast. I'm Patricia Walls and I'm here with Keri Glaser. Keri is an internationally known psychic medium, I know from personal experience, and an animal communicator, and she's also a heart-to-heart practitioner and a Reiki master. And she's the co-host of Make It So Network, Psychic Night and Mediumship every Wednesday with Elizabeth Harbin and LuAnn Morris. And she's also a team psychic and animal communicator for paranormal investigations with Dr. Chuck Murphy. Keri loves spending time in private readings where she can provide detailed readings for her clients. Highly recommended. And also she's so in the way of mediumship, she's got 20 years of experience in doing this. And we were having a conversation before I actually hit record. And I found out that she was a kindergarten and first grade teacher, first and second grade teacher. And she, for years at a private daycare, and had a dream to be a special effects makeup artist. So I love the conversations we have before we actually start recording. And so thank you for joining me. Thank you for agreeing to come on and share with us, because I'm excited to see what part of all and any of that you're gonna share with everybody. So welcome, Sister Keri.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. It's been a while. Actually, I think you and I met over 15 years ago. It's been a long time. Yeah. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
And also the heart-to-heart thing with Vicky. Hi. Mm-hmm. I think that maybe when I met you, because I took her course.
I took her course probably 18 years ago. I know she was, I think it was at the house that she was in, her and I believe Michelle Barr at the time. They had the Hope House, I think it was. And that's where I took it. I took it there.
Yeah, I took her course and I thought maybe that's when I met you. I can't remember when I met you, but it was a long time ago. Yeah.
That's what I had to remember, is we're such a large community, but at the same time, a small community, because it's like you'll meet somebody and it's like, I know you somehow, or took some class with you, or we've been somewhere together. Yeah. Or we've definitely been down that road.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that she's not here anymore in physical, you know.
I know.
So I didn't know. I knew you as a psychic medium. I didn't know you as an animal communicator. So how long have you been doing that part of it?
The animal communicator, I probably have been animal communicating all along, and that wasn't something I focused on. Right. But it probably about 2-3 years ago, it started getting really strong. And I was like, you know what, almost every communication I have, the animals are coming through. So I started focusing more on that. And then I noticed when I was around other animal communicators that my abilities would get stronger. So I just was like, you know, this is something that I'm interested in. I love animals. I enjoy when they come through, because the fun part is people don't realize that animals really are like humans. And I think it was the first time that I had an animal come through. It was a cat. It was one of those doll cats, you know, when you pick them up and they go limp, and I think they're called doll cats. And so I'm talking to a lady, I'm in her home, and this cat walks by and I hear this hello. And I'm like, well, hello. And I'm just start talking, and I'm like, she's like, are you like, and I said, I believe I'm talking to your cat. I'm not 100% sure. And so I started giving her this message, and it was almost like this older lady's voice was talking to me. But the more that I was talking and the more information that I was giving to the person I was reading for, she was telling me, you know, those are exactly the things that's going on with her. She's got some respiratory issues. She's got, all these things that a human has, but only as a cat. And so she was like, yeah, I believe you're talking to my cat. And then, there were times where, I'd just be sitting and I'll just be petting something, or my hands will be you can't see me in the camera, but I'll be running my hands on a dog or something that's just sitting there, and I can feel the fur. And so I started tapping more into that and looking more into, how do I go about talking to the animals. And then the more I was doing it, the more I was like, it's just like talking to a human.
Yeah.
And it just got stronger.
So this is an interesting perspective. And I find this with a lot of people that think that what they do, everybody else can do, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's not true. Because years and years and years ago, Source was talking to me about, I guess when I first started really opening myself up to getting messages and doing readings for people, my guide said, we need you to be able to communicate with all life. And I was like, that's a thing? They were like, yeah. Yes. And so I was going, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? And so the good Google queen that I am, I started Googling, and the closest I could find to it was, her last name is Smith. Do you know who I'm talking about? To me, she's the queen of animal communications, but her last name is Smith, and she lives in Arizona now, I think. But she taught a class called, what was it? Inner something communication. But it included all things, clouds, earth, wind, animals, humans. And, I can't think of what the name of it was, but I wanted so badly to take a course with her. But at that time, she was no longer offering courses.
Okay.
And she had all of these people that she had taught that were offering the class, whatever this class was called. And so I checked some of them out, and I just didn't feel comfortable with them, on an energetic level.
Right.
But I found a group in Houston that was offering an animal communication class. And my guides or higher self was saying, it's the same thing. Just take the class and get an idea, right? Just get an idea of how it should look. And so I took the class, and the reason I'm telling you this, there's a point to this. So I took the class, and in the class, their teaching on it was that when you connect with an animal, that the information comes through in different ways. But for them, most often it came through as a thought, a remembrance, a picture. That's how animals communicated with them in particular, right? They didn't hear a voice like you're hearing. So that's why I'm pointing this out. They didn't hear a voice. They saw it. Their way of teaching students was to look for, like, if a cat needed you to know that that their favorite. So one of their things was to say, ask the animal what its favorite toy is. And that was a way of verifying they had the right animal with the parent, with the pet parent. I hate owner, by the way. And so, so you would ask the animal, what is your favorite toy? And in their way, you would receive an image of whatever the toy was, right? Or you would see a color. So you may not see the toy, but you may see a color. So you would say, well, there's something red that they enjoy playing with, right?
Right.
And so in their way, the animal would give you pictures, or they would call upon your own memory, as a reminder. So I love hearing you say that you actually hear the voice, the representation of the animal in that way, because not everybody receives in the same way.
I always go back to tarot cards.
Uh-huh.
For the life of me, I've been taught by many different great tarot readers and people that have been doing it for lifelong. And I cannot for the life of me read tarot how it's, I guess you would say, how it's supposed to be done. The
Right.
swords, the wands, the cups. It's confusing to me.
Yeah.
So, and I have
too.
many beautiful decks.
Yeah.
I have many beautiful decks of cards, and I'm like, okay, I don't want those to go to waste. So for me, when I look at tarot cards, I don't call myself a tarot reader at all. And so even when I go to parties or something, it's, I prefer go ahead and call me fortune teller or something like that. I'm okay with that. But tarot reader just doesn't sit with me. But when I do look at the cards, it's like more of the picture, and more of what's going on in that picture is a representation of what's going on for the person, which I guess in a way is kind of like reading the tarot cards, but it's just, I never could get the castle, the fish, all that stuff. It's just in the swords and then all that. It was just confusing to me. So I just was like, I'm that doesn't work for me, but I can look at a tarot card and get a message.
Right.
So it's the same with an animal. All of us read differently. Your readings are different from mine. We may get the same messages, but how we receive them is so different. And I taught, I don't want to say I taught, because I wasn't really teaching people how to read. I was nurturing them on their path. And so when I had a group of people that would come every other Sunday, and each one of them got things differently. Some would get the pictures, some would get the just knowing, or the smells. For me, I have a tendency now to get all of them. And a really good friend of mine always says, "You're clairabundant," having all the clairs. So because I love
that's a great description, clairabundant. Yeah.
Because if I'm going to get food, especially if I'm going to get some good Southern cooking, or if I'm going to get some Italian food in there, I want to taste it. I don't want the calories from it, but I want to taste it. I want to smell it. I want to have that experience. And so for me, those are what I need to have my clarity, and to know that what I'm passing along is to the sitter or the person receiving the reading. For me, that's very important that I have all those details. I like all the details. Now, I've read with some other people that just get words. They just hear words, or they see black letters, and they just, that's how they know it.
Right.
So that's the one thing, is that everyone, even with the animals, I think for me, I need to have it that way. I need to hear them in their voice, and it could just be my imagination, but I need to have it that way. I love it when a Great Dane comes through and they sound like Minnie Mouse.
Yeah.
That just cracks me up. I'm like, are you serious? This is a Great Dane I'm talking to. And the person will say, yeah. And I say, okay, because he, I don't know if you've ever seen that. I think it's Home is the name of the movie, where they've got those voice collars on.
Uh-huh.
And the bigger dog, he comes through and he sounds like Minnie Mouse, because they don't have it tweaked where he sounds like a big dog, and the little dog sounds like it's really interesting when a Chihuahua will come through, and a Chihuahua really does sound like a big burly man. And I'm like, okay, I was not expecting that. Or they come through with my favorite are like the older dogs, the dogs that have been around for a while and seen things and been things. And they really do have this older, nurturing love about them. I just last week I have a long time friend. I call him friend and client. He's human calls and says, okay, I need to know what's going on here, because he's having some problems. I was like, okay, so, and we just have this really unique connection. And his name is Magoo, and he's just like, Keri, this is what was going on. We moved into a new home, ... I don't want to go too much into their stuff, but I love listening to how he explains things to me. It's like I'm sitting across, like I'm talking to you right now. Like, that's how I talk to him, and that's how I feel him and see him, like he's human. And I love that about it. The first time I did what are those little furry things called? A chinchilla. And that, those little things are crazy. they
have a very short
energy,
attention span, right?
yes. And
Yeah.
it was exactly. It really was just like you expect a chinchilla to be. Give this little bit of message on there, and okay, we're done. I'm done, and I'm off doing my thing, and then come back, and oh, I'm interested in you again, and then come back. So that was really interesting to do. Now, I haven't had the chance to do like any of the big animals in the zoos or anything like that yet, but that's something I'd like to do down the line.
Yeah, I've heard, I don't know where I heard it. But I have heard of other people who hear them in voices, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, because my primary gift is claircognizance, where I just know what I know,
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it comes to me, is just a knowing. I mean, there's not a one on, there's not that. I would love to be able to have that conversation, right?
Uh-huh.
But for me, it's just when I check in with another being, and I think all beings are sentient. I mean, people will say carrots have no feelings. Well, screw that. They do exactly have feelings.
Well, they breathe. They're in the earth until we literally pull them. Yeah.
They're born, they grow, they produce other beings, they die. Okay. And so to me, there is no difference. And that's why my beings were talking to me about, you need to open up to not just reading for humans. You can connect with everything, and so, but mine is, I had to learn to trust that I just am receiving what I'm receiving,
That's the biggest thing, I think, for me was trust.
Yeah.
I did have a period of time where I shut down because I had so much faith and trust. And I've talked about this before. I had so much faith and trust in my team that we had boundaries. And I do a lot of suicides. I have no judgment on suicide. I have none of that. I'm comfortable with it. And so I had a family come to me, and this was an affair I was doing, and it was a restaurant setting. And so when they sat down with me, and I was pushed a little bit, crossed my boundaries. And so, it was not an okay situation. So I did have a period of time where I just shut it all down. And I was like, no, I'm not there. So I had to rebuild my trust with my team and say, this is not okay for me. This is okay. And, get to the point to where, I know this is what I'm meant to be doing, and this is where I really need to be, because I have done a lot of amazing things. I look back, as I was doing I'm revamping my website and doing some new things, because I have grown in the past few years. I'm like, really need to fix that. And I'm really making I don't want to call it a comeback. I'm calling it a comeback in, or a return to myself. And so as I'm doing this, I'm like, wow, you really have done some interesting things. As a makeup artist, I met a lot of incredible people, and runway and theater was my thing. That was, got 10 seconds to do a full-on face makeup, and you're sweating and like, can I do this? And as they're going on the stage, just beaming from ear to ear, because they go out there and they look amazing, and and so those kind of things. But when I connect a family with someone that's passed and they've grieved for so long, and they're just looking for that closure, or they're looking for that little bit of healing there, I can't just, you probably know that feeling because you've done it, but there's just this feeling of, wow. And I think that's the best way I can describe it, is wow.
Yeah, knowing that you made a difference,
Yeah. How honored am I to be able to do that for you?
Yeah.
Or with you, not for you. It's not necessarily for them, it's with them. Because I have a tendency to believe that everybody has, the abilities. It's just how, who chooses to tap in and who doesn't, and how we choose to use them.
Right. Like I was telling somebody that there are times when I've seen full body apparitions, maybe 2 or 3 in my entire life,
Mm-hmm.
There are times when I hear a voice, clear hear a voice, but it rarely happens. And there are times when I will have a smell that's not there, So I do believe that we have all of the clairs, but you're a prime example that we're not limited. I was going to say, but we have one primary. You're a clear example of no limitations, right? For me, maybe it's I know what it is, because I'm not comfortable with knowing certain things, right?
Right.
Like you talked about your boundaries. I'm not comfortable with certain things. And so I would rather not have those in my life. And so for me, it's comfortable just to know the answer.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Without seeing. For instance, one of my grandchildren, when she was really, really small, all of my family is clairvoyant. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Openly, blatantly clairvoyant. They're born that way. And I probably was too, but I don't remember it. But one of my grandgirls, she was like really young, like 4 or 5 years old, and she saw spirit, and it would scare her because she would see them as they died. So if they were in a car accident and they were mangled, that's what she saw, and it scared her really, really badly.
It is
And
scary.
So I think part of me draws on that, and goes, I don't want to see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Just give me the answer. I don't want to see you.
I think what helped me with that is, and I think that's why I went through the makeup, the special effects, is because I taught and I went to hospitals and did gunshot wounds for their classes when they were teaching or doing rescues. I would come in and do the bullet wounds, the accidents, So I think that's part of what helped me, was having to study a bullet wound. Is it a through and through? Which, did it go through? What did it look like? And what kind of gun were they shot with? So I know a little bit more about that kind of stuff, and I think I want to. But with doing accidents and stuff and having that, I think I have a little more control over it because of what I learned with the makeup.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
it does. It does. Yeah.
Especially. Go ahead.
So would it be fair to say you kind of desynthesized yourself?
Could be, but which is interesting.
So there's no shock and awe.
There's no shock. Yeah, there's no shock and awe when I see it in spirit. However, to watch a television show now, even though I know it's fake, if there's any like a lot of blood or guts or gore or anything, just my brain doesn't wrap around that anymore like it used to. It gets real anxious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My husband, Stan, likes to watch, there's a police show. He wanted to be a police officer when he was younger. So, that's still part of him. He'll watch that. And there's just some of it, if there's an argument or confrontation there, or I don't know if it's because I feel it or if it just makes me very anxious. And I'm like, yeah, there's no reason to be fighting. There's no reason to be hitting each other or, having this kind of energy. And so I'll get real anxious and I'll just be like, you know what, I'm going to go in the other room. You enjoy, wrestling even. He loves wrestling. I don't know why, but there's some of that when they're going back and forth and yelling. I'm just like, yeah, and not so much. It makes me, anxious.
Yeah.
So, but car accidents, when if I pass a car accident, I don't know if you do this, but I'm always putting white light on it, let everybody be okay. And if someone did pass, let them go to the light, with peace. Right. And, so that's just, I think through the years where I've shifted as to where the violence isn't okay. This isn't okay anymore. And there's some movies that I used to be able to watch. I just can't do it anymore because of the violence in them. It gives me anxiety.
Yeah, I can't watch a lot of violence. I can't watch hardly any violence, you know. But so I don't watch a lot of that. I watch a lot of Netflix and Prime, where I can pick and choose what I'm watching.
The comedies.
And I can fast forward through, you know, any of that.
Yeah, there's a movie that I used to love. I like the Terminator. That's the movie couldn't think of earlier with the robots in it. And so there's certain parts in there where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna fast forward through that part, and you know, we'll go on. But yeah, it seems to be I'm more and more sensitive to things with violence in them.
Right. Well, because it's not part of our frequency anymore, right?
Exactly. It's just there's no need for it, even though it's a movie, and I know that there's just something about it where it's just the violence doesn't resonate with me anymore.
Well, it's part of a lower level frequency that we don't live in anymore.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So it's interesting because I was having a conversation with someone about all of this, and one of the things that the beings described to me, and we all have our own understanding about stuff, and it changes from day to day. But one of the things that the beings shared with me about the dimensional levels, they described it as third dimension is the place of drama and trauma, you know, where people need to have drama in their lives. You know, they need to be needed, or they need to be injured or wounded, you know, it feeds them. And then there's, you know, the fourth dimensional place of, you know, the ancestors and the guides and the helpers, and the fifth dimensional. So for me, they describe the fifth dimension as when you're in that space and time, you're like, I see what kind of game you guys are playing, but I don't want to play in it. You know,
exactly.
I send you love and light, and I hope that you no longer have to have that in your life. But, you know, and there's no judgment on it, but I don't want to play there with you. But that's kind of the place where I live, you know, is that I see that. I know it's important for some people because they made those agreements to experience that for whatever reason. And I experienced a lot of it early in my years, and there was a purpose for it. I made an agreement to experience it. But in this part of my body age, I choose not to experience it anymore. So we don't have to, you know.
That's it, you know, the older I get, the more I'm like, that's just not necessary. I don't need that. And I don't want to say I cut it off and move on, because it's like, I just kind of go my direction and do what I need. And, you know, if you have to have chaos, that's okay. That's you, but that's for you. I think that's why so many sensitive energies and sensitive people are getting so tired these days, because there's so much of that outside of our worlds. And so when we go outside, it's just, we feel it in our energies, you know, as much as we put the white light on, the bubble, the protection and all that, there's still a lot of that out there. And it's hard for our brains to wrap around why. You know, I don't know if you asked that, but I'm always like, why?
I don't ask it anymore, because I mean, it's part of my practice, my hypnosis practice, right? And part of my study, and part of what I share with people that helped me personally is knowing that we all came here with agreements to experience things. So that part actually doesn't bother me anymore, because I know, oh, well, you agreed to experience that. So, you know, I'm not going to interfere with that agreement unless you ask me to. If you ask me to interfere, then that was our agreement that I would come in and interfere, but not until you ask. But yeah, that's what helps me. I mean, even when I'm out and I see those things happening around me, I'm able to look at it from that perspective at this point for myself. You know, that, okay, you agree to that. And if you need help, let me know. But if you don't need help, I'm over here, detached.
I'm going to stay in my detached area. Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
And it looks, to some people, it looks as though it comes off as being uncaring, you know,
Yeah.
or it comes off as being,
It's probably the most caring though, because you're allowing them to be and
right,
do what they need to do and what they came here to do. So it's probably the most caring.
right, without my interruption,
Without your yeah, exactly.
because there are those of us that are so kind-hearted, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so compassionate that if we see something like that, we want to jump right in it, you know, and we want to help them and solve it for them. And who's to say that that wasn't their agreement when they came here, that their agreement was to be that kind of person, you know? So again, there's no judgment on that, but I had a different agreement, you know? And so my agreement was, keep your nose on this side of the fence unless you're asked to help. So, I mean, but in my younger years, I did jump the fence and, you know, and go try to rescue people. And it always came back on me.
I was going to say, it's always the people who try to do the rescue are usually the one that comes back on, and they end up getting hurt the most.
Exactly. Because I'm an Aries, and I say that often, but, you know, my tendency is to be a nuclear reactor. That's my natural tendency. And I've really had to reel that in for myself. But my tendency is to jump in and assist, you know, and I really had to have a couple of really, really ugly situations where I had to learn, oh, wait, you're not meant to jump in and assist. You know?
I think I'm a Scorpio. I'm
same
sometimes
thing.
I look at a Scorpio and I'm like, you know, I'm straight up Scorpio, and then there's other times like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where, you know, that part comes from. But I get it. I get that that's what they're here. That's their their story.
I talked about. So
that's okay. I like the picture when it flipped. I know I got a little shiny object there, but that's a beautiful picture of you.
What was it?
I don't know. It's of you sitting near a wall.
Oh, okay.
So when it froze, because you said you had a call come in. So when it freezes, it flips to a picture of you, and I was like, oh, that's a beautiful picture. So pretty shiny object there.
Was it in blue? Was I in blue?
Do you know, it happens so fast. I want to say that there was blue on it, but it's just. I
think that was it. What I was going to tell you about that was it's when I was in the women's chapel in Glastonbury, and there's a Mary Michael ley line there. And I was sitting right on the ley line in that picture. So
that's probably what I was thinking was the energy of it. Because when you said, was there blue in it, I was like, you know, because I usually is one that when I glance at something, I can like, oh, she was wearing ... and yeah, but I was like, oh, you know, I really don't know. It was determined.
So yeah, that's where that picture. I bet it's that picture, and I love that picture because I'm sitting right on the ley line. Yeah. So what were we talking about?
People and their energies, and that's their story and what they're here for, and
yeah. So your work as you said you do paranormal investigations with Dr. Murphy. So you want to talk about that?
So that I am kind of new to. I'm that kind of, I do the psychic medium and the animal communications part of that. Now I am fascinated by because the paranormal part, you know, the investigations, all that was not something, again, that I ever was like, yeah, I got to go do that. But I've done a couple of land clearings and those kind of things. And, you know, and that for me is just follow your energy and what I'm led to do. And so I really enjoy that part of it. But as far as an actual investigation, I've not actually been on one of those yet, but I've done some where I've either watched a video or they've told me about it, and I've written some things down that I was getting. So I'm more of doing the psychic, the medium, or the animal communications part of it. You know, what the actual spirit may have been, or who they have been, or, you know, that kind of part of it.
Back in the day, I was, I mean, this is a really, really long time ago. Somehow I was given the information for a group that does missing persons. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You
I don't know
about
the
that
actual group.
Yeah.
I don't know about the actual group, but I know that there's a couple of groups that were out there.
Yeah. And so it's very interesting how they work, though. And that's why I don't do it anymore. So what they did was they gave you, what is it called? They gave you like a list of questions. So they would give you a target, and then they would give you a questionnaire, right? What do you see when you think of this person? Geographical location, da da da. I mean, it was a questionnaire that you completed.
Right.
And then, but I understand the science behind it, because they were working with 100 psychics, right?
Right.
And they would take these questionnaires and they would compare them. And then they would take, well, if 90 of the psychics said they saw a wooded area, we're going to go with a wooded area. Right.
Right.
So I stopped doing that because I don't know. I just didn't do it anymore. Have you ever been involved with one of those groups?
Very early on, I was with a group and they would go and do, and it just didn't resonate for me. What I like about working with Dr. Chuck and Elizabeth and Jen is that when they go, we kind of do our thing. And, you know, Jen loves the equipment. Jen will get out there, and I don't even know the names of some of them, but I'm fascinated by it and I want to learn about it. But, you know, you can tell me the name in 10 days from now, I'm probably not going to remember it. It's not because I don't care, it's just not my wheelhouse. But I like going and doing my thing. And so when we do the investigations, or when, you know, they're doing something like that, I just go and get what I'm getting and do my part of it, and then they do their part of it, and Jen picks up things on the machines and the little box, and she'll ask her questions, but they're her questions. It's not a list of questions. So it's, you know, what she's feeling and how she's feeling to go about it, you know, and there's no, you have to do it this way or that way. And, you know, but I've not gone on like a real deep in-depth, you know, investigation. I've just gone on a couple, you know, little things, but I'm fascinated by it. And being a part of this group, I think I'm going to learn more because I'm getting to learn it at my own pace and at my own, this is what I want to learn. This is what doesn't resonate for me. So I think that's why I'm able to be a part of it and do what I need to do and enjoy it. Because that's my thing now is, you know, if I'm going to do this, I want to enjoy it. I want to help people. I don't want to just go out there and do it because it's something to do. That doesn't work for me.
It takes a special it is a special gift because you guys aren't just going out and let's see what we can find. You're going out to resolve, right? To bring peace. And
it's usually somebody who's called. Yeah, it's usually somebody who's called and said, "Hey, I think something's going on. We're having this energy here. It feels negative." You know, a lot of times I'll feel the energies, but a lot of times the energies that feel negative, they're not demonic or anything like that. That's, you know, one of the things that I haven't experienced with this group is we don't do anything that's real demonic, but, you know, it could be a negative energy. And it's just a matter of going in and talking and saying, hey, look, this is, you know, you're in somebody else's house now. You know, you can cross, but and that's, you know, with Dr. Chuck and Elizabeth, that's one of the things is, we don't force a spirit to cross. We don't force a spirit to talk. If they want to talk, that's great. If not, that's okay. But, I've been a couple times where they've actually talked and said, here, this is the situation. Like, like you and I are talking right now, and giving them the options, but also letting them know, hey, if you stay, you've got some rules here. So setting those boundaries and things like that. So I think that's why I enjoy being a part of this group.
Yeah. Yeah. Law of free will, because when I've done that work, they have a choice of whether or not to cross, I mean, law of free will is there for everything. But
that's, they have the choice to talk to us or not talk to us.
Yeah.
We always hope that they do. It's like, oh, please let whoever they're wanting to talk to, please let them want to talk to us, but, we always let them know, hey, this is free will, just like, living. If you're somebody's mad at you, they don't want to talk. That's
right.
That's
can't make them talk to you.
Can't make them talk. But, 9 times, I think I've only maybe once had a spirit that didn't want to talk. And then, but most of the time sometimes I can't get them to stop talking. especially the grandparents.
Yeah, I actually had, I was actually talking to a person's higher self or counsel, and I actually had them turn their back on me. That was a weird experience. And yeah, I mean, I could see them sitting, and they all turned their back to me, and I went, okay. I'm not supposed to be interfering in this. Yeah, that was odd. I know that there are those groups out there, the paranormal groups, who do it for the glory and the gore,
Yeah.
So I'm so happy to know. I mean, I know that there are good groups out there as well, but I mean, like there's an abandoned orphanage in the Sherman Denison area. That was really a really big draw for paranormal investigation groups. And I just going down the street past this place, I couldn't get past it quick enough, because of all the pain. And I couldn't imagine doing something like that. But there are people who are gifted enough that they could go in there and help those souls that are stuck. But yeah, it's very interesting.
There are a lot of good paranormal groups out there that do that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like about the Southern Fried Psychics is that Dina's wanting to show what the life of a psychic really is. And it's not a show where it's edited, where because there's some of those paranormal shows are out there, they are good investigators, but because of the way it's edited and the way the show's got to go, they're not depicted as what it's really like on a true investigation or, a true clearing or anything like that. There's some of the psychics that are on television, and, we need them to have it out there to show, that this is real, this is what we do. But they're so edited, and, it's a television show, and, so you're not getting to see the whole behind the reading, the whole behind the person. And so it's kind of sad because they do get dogged a lot for it, and even from our industry, we're like, oh man, really wish you wouldn't do that, or I wish they would, show that a little bit better. So that's one of the things I'm really excited about us doing this film with Dina and the Southern Fried Psychics this is really how it is. We're real people. We have our ups and downs. We eat some good food. We have some interesting conversations, we've all had, our lives and our things, because I think a lot of people think that, a psychic is someone that doesn't have problems, or, they have it all figured out, or they're very highly spiritual people. Yeah, I am sometimes. And other times I will not hesitate to, tell you, yeah, buzz off. Your energy doesn't fit with mine, for lack of a better thought there. But it's just, we're real people with, human hearts and human things. We have a different connection with life and in higher beings and higher energies.
Right. We're still here to have a human experience, and that includes all of the emotions. Right.
Yes, and we get ill, we have challenges, but and boy, do we have challenges sometimes. I have a friend right now who, bless her heart, they're going through some challenges with her husband and in his health, and I've got my own things that I've had to go through up and down with for 20 something years, and I know how to do Reiki. I know how to do heart to heart, but there are times where we totally forget that we're those people too.
Yeah.
And, and so there are times where I'm like, oh, I could be doing Reiki on that. I got to the point I had frozen shoulder to where I could not move my arm. I could not move it backwards or forwards. And I'm like, surgery does not sound good to me. So I got on there, did my little email to my group of friends, and I was like, okay, so here's what's going on. I have tears, I have frozen shoulder, I have ... There are no signs of tears in I can't get all the way back like I used to where it, up. There's still some arthritis in there, but I didn't have to have surgery, and I have motion, and I can get my hand over my head, and I can brush my own hair again.
Right.
Those I think was the I don't do needles. I am a needle phobic. I am challenged with that right now, and always have been. But I do the laser acupuncture, and I know that the process of that has helped me a lot. And the imagining and seeing, like I'm a real big fan of Sally from the Nightmare Before Christmas, and so I was imagining the tears in my arms literally being sewed up like Sally.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know that that's a part of it. And people are like, that's really strange, Keri. How does that work? Well, I don't know how that works. I just know that my mind decided I did not want to have that surgery.
Right.
Now, why do I have to have another surgery coming up for something else? I don't know. But I know that that's a necessary thing for me. And so, I don't think people understand that, we still go through human experiences.
Yeah.
Just because we're spiritual or we believe things differently, we still go through those human experiences.
I mean, that the medical, yes, we can heal ourselves. There are times when pharmaceuticals are necessary. Because I am no doctor, no pharmaceutical person. But there are times when it's necessary, right?
Yes.
And the last surgery I had was a gallbladder removal because I was getting ready to go to the UK and my gallbladder was messing up. And I was like, I'm not getting to the UK and have my gallbladder burst.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so intuitively, it was a green light. Intuitively, it was like, just go have the surgery. Where normally I would have said, I'm not doing this. I can heal myself. But intuitively, it was go have the surgery. And I said, okay,
Yeah,
it was a day surgery, but what happened was that was when my last walk-in came in. So the surgery was necessary to take me out so that the walk-in could occur.
That makes
when
sense.
when that walk-in came in, that's when the light language came online for me. So all of that was necessary. It was all part of the blueprint, part of the plan. You have to do this in order to get this.
What is my lesson going to be when I go through this process?
Right.
What is, I tell people all the time, I said, you may feel like you're in the most darkest, negative place you can possibly be, but it is the best place possible because that's where you're going to learn the most right now.
Right.
And that's exactly where you need to be. So just remember, don't panic. Don't get yourself in this spinny place. I always call it, okay, you're spinning. You know, Elizabeth cracks me up because she's always like, well, when we're on the radio, you can't see us. So she knows what I'm about to do that, because I'll start doing this thing with my hand and I'm like, spinning. And I'm like, okay, you're spinning. So I had a point to that. We do spin. We get in that point too, to where we overthink things. I'm an overthinker. I know, you know, a situation happens and I'm like, okay, this, and I'm like, oh wait, stop spinning, breathe, it's all okay. And then I just, you know, I don't start doing the affirmations. I start a whole different direction of thinking of, okay, this is what I need to do here. I go into action mode instead of doing what I used to do, which is go into reaction mode. So I just, you know, I'm always reminding people, okay, we're going into action mode instead of reaction mode. But you're actually, even though it feels like you're in the deepest, darkest pits of life, you're exactly where you need to be.
Yeah.
That's your clean slate.
Right. And sometimes it's not even all about us. Even going back to the whole surgery thing, what's the possibility that I agreed to have the surgery to give someone else a lesson? You know, someone that was there, some of the medical staff.
Mm-hmm.
Or what if I was there to give them a connection to my frequency that they needed, the key that they needed for something? So it's not even always just about us. You know, sometimes we agree to hard situations for other people's benefit, you know? So, I mean, if you hadn't run across all those people that you had run across who agreed to go through something so that you could have not a lesson, but so that you could have a teaching, an understanding by seeing what they were going through,
mm-hmm.
right? There's just so much.
I like to think that everything I've been through the past 22 years with the PCOS, with the pain and the going through the infertility and going through all that, there are women now, because I'm in the same group I've been in since, you know, I was in my 20s with this, and I still talk, you know, some of those women, we're older now, but there's the newer group coming in. So
Mm-hmm.
when they have those questions, I'm like, okay, I've already been there. I've done that, and let me help you. Here's what to do, and here's what I suggest to do, and then here's what I definitely know does not work.
Right, because
So,
you experienced it. You have a source of reference. Yeah,
exactly. So that's going back to where, you know, we're human and having these human experiences just as much as you are. We just kind of have this ability to talk to spirit.
Yeah.
Or other beings.
Because some people will go into, well, why me? Why do I have to experience this? What have I done wrong that I have to experience this? And sometimes it has nothing to do with you. Sometimes you agreed to experience so that you could help others. You know,
I've been there. Wow. Why?
Yeah.
Why am I going through this again? Why do I have to and then it's like, wait, okay, here's why.
Yeah.
And then there's, like you said, there's someone along there that you've either met. There's an energy that's needed to cross through you. There's, you know, there's all these different reasons. It's just allowing it to happen. And sometimes that is challenging, because it's like you really are like, okay, this is kind of in my way. And, you know, I don't hide. I do have some a surgery coming up, and I was supposed to have it 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, okay, I have things that I need to do. So I'm going down my list, and I'm like, okay, universe, ... is coming up. And, you know, we have the Southern Fried Psychics. That's why I wanted it done earlier. So I was like, I am not missing this. And I'm like, I'm pleading. I'm like, universe, I am not missing going through my spin and all my stuff. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm meant to be here. I'm meant to be a part of this. It's going to happen. And the surgery will happen when it's supposed to happen.
Right.
And how it's supposed to happen in the time and the manner that it is. And, you know, but you do. I got to that place too, and I got a little mad. I'm not going to lie. I was getting angry. I was like, no, this needs to be done now. And, circumstances being things. It was almost like little forks getting stuck in there. I was like, well, why am I getting it? And I was like, stop asking why, and just let it flow, and it will happen when it's supposed to happen. But, I can get off in a whole nother direction there.
Another rabbit hole. Well, okay. So since our topic was kind of mediumship, if you could give someone advice, right? Somebody that may be listening, that they are hearing voices, are seeing movement. And I mean, what advice would you give someone?
I think the most important thing is write down what you're hearing. Write it down. Then go back and look at it, and don't panic. I think those are the two things, is when people first start hearing things or feeling things or smelling, whatever that is, I think there's a little sense of panic, or am I going crazy? I don't know if you went through this, but I did go through a period of time where I thought I was going crazy. And, police officer, I thought I was going to jail, because I later on found out that I was holding myself back, and I kept feeling like somebody was arresting me, and like I was being, locked up. And so, police officers walking past my window would panic me, because I don't know if it was, it could have been a past life thing, but it was more, the more I looked into it, the more I was like, I was holding myself back, and I was holding myself in this place of captivity, because I wasn't allowing myself to be me and to do what I was put here to do, and to really be okay with that and shine at it, and know that, not patting my back or anything, but at the same time knowing that I'm really good at what I do. And because I had people, tell me all along, oh, this is crazy, I was told I was going to hell. I had somebody loved very dearly, and her daughter, I was with me all through school, and I just loved them. And, I told her what I do, and she goes, oh, you're going to hell.
Right.
There's nothing else about that. And I was like, so you get all these things, and, and you have to decide, this is me, this is who I am. If that's what you believe, that's okay. But for a long time, I was like, I would steer away from people that would say that. I don't want that confrontation, and I still don't. But at the same time, I'm okay with it, because it's like, you know what? We all need our beliefs. That's important. We all need our thing. But at the same time, that's fine. I have an uncle who believes one way, I believe another, and we love each other, and we just don't mix those two things. We do other things.
Right.
So
I have, and you've heard this. So people who will come to you and say, I cut my gift off because I was always getting premonitions of people dying. So do you have anything that you would say to those people? What do you normally tell them?
I think I was one of those people. So, when it's scary, I get it, but there are some that, you just talk about it, find the person that you trust. There are a lot of amazing teachers, practitioners out there. Find the one that resonates with you, and talk. Hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm getting, because it is very real, and they'll help you. They'll help you get through that initial part of being afraid of it. There's not really anything to be afraid of. They're just wanting to tell you, hey, this is what happened. And in boundaries, that's the biggest thing that we talk about very first. Anybody that comes to me is set your boundaries. Here's what I'm okay with. I don't want to be touched. I don't want to see, if you died in a gory way, I don't want to see that. You can tell me, but I don't want to see it. there's a whole list, and in unfortunately my brain is not going there
I'm
right
sorry.
now. But
I'm sorry.
no,
Yeah,
it's okay.
I didn't mean to spring a question on you. It feels like so what it felt like to me was that you have so much experience and knowledge, right? That you could share with people. And I know you to be this very conscientious, soft-hearted person, where you have all this knowledge and you don't always I'm trying to put this. You don't like to push yourself on people, right? And just assume that they need to hear what you have to say because you're non-egoic. I'm just going to put it that way. You are non-egoic. And so, but I know there's so much that you have to share with people, which is why I'm kind of springing these questions on you, because I know that you have so much knowledge and experience that you could help people with. But you won't do it, so I'm asking you questions.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking you the questions. I'm asking you questions that people would normally ask you if they could, but it's just you and me on here. So, yeah.
It's funny because I just I went through almost a month of rewriting my biography. And I have 4 people helping me, 4, amazing women that know me very well. And they're like, and finally I was like, I just took voice, talked into it. This is what I do, who I am, and all that. I sent it to all of them, and all of them was like, God, I can hear you talking it. I can hear you laughing at yourself as you're talking. And so, and then a couple, they went back, and of course, grammar, spelling, and I admit this, grammar, spelling, and, punctuation is not my thing. So I know immediately to go ahead and hand that off. You take it. So it ended up, the last hands it was in was Gentilla. And so now when I read it, I can hear a little bit of her voice and her edge to it and mine. That as I'm reading some of the things that she writes, not just in my biography, but as she wrote about me, I'm like, it made me cry. It made me tear up because those are things that, I know are there. I know are in me, but like you said, it's I don't know if it's ego or, that type of thing that I just don't. I usually put ego in the corner when it comes to this work. I'm like, you stay over there. We're just gonna do this, and I'm blessed to have this. I know that this is a gift that has been given to me. I have seen Jesus. I have seen God, and I know that that is a true gift. And there's only a handful of people that I've seen them with, but I know in those messages and in those energies, in the people that they came to me, that those kind of people are true of themselves and have been in this industry for a long, long time. And so for me, I have to remember I've been there almost as long as some of them, but I still feel like a kid learning.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to talking about what I do know or what I have experienced, in my mind, I still think, gosh, girl, you've still got a whole lot more to learn. And so I still forget how long I've actually been doing this. And then I have that knowledge. And I
learn something new every day, not every single day. It's just a saying, but I learned something new, because I think that when we stop learning, we stop growing. And I think that when we think we know everything, that's when we need to take a step back and look at ourselves. When we think that we know everything,
I remember when I was first invited to do a fair with Chuck Murphy, Elizabeth Harbin, Sharon Cody, and some people that have been around for a while. And I told her, I said, are you sure you want me in there? And she goes, girl, absolutely. And I was like, yeah, but you've got these heavy hitters. And she just looked at me, and she actually told me to shut up. And she goes, no, she goes, you got this. You just go sit down at that table and do your thing. And I remember sitting at that table and just saying, okay, ego, you go sit down in the corner. And when those clients started coming in and just getting in that energy and feeling such a part of that. And I work with Dr. Chuck and Elizabeth all the time. I work with Elizabeth once a week with our show. And there's still sometimes where things will come out of her mouth when we're in the middle of a reading. And I was like, man, she's good. But then for her to turn around and say, God, I can't believe you did that. That was awesome. There's still that little girl in me that the teacher is saying, good job.
Right.
And I still get excited about it. And, with new, and they're not new, because I think we're all born with this. I think it's just, when do we tap into it?
Right.
Or when do we really get going? Because there's times where I look back, I'm like, yeah, I was talking to my grandpa as a kid. That was definitely my grandpa, but I get so excited for other people that are going out and their first read. I remember when Jen was going out and she did her first read at Shambhala, and I didn't have a reading for the first reading. I was open, but she had one, and kind of leaning over, kind of trying not to listen, but kind of listening and giving that energy. But I remember when she was done and her going, oh, she got it and she felt it for the first time, and just wanting to get up and cheer her on and just go, good job, And in the car on the way back, I was like, man, that was awesome. You rocked it. That makes me feel just as good as when I do a good read, is when somebody else, that I, been around, mentored even, those kind of things just make me excited.
Yeah. Is there a plan, or are you already doing it? And I don't know about it, for you and Elizabeth and Dr. Chuck to do, like, I know he teaches, but is there a plan for you and Elizabeth also to do classes to help people?
Now, I know Elizabeth does classes already. She's been doing them on Zoom. I've taken several of her classes over the past few years.
Okay.
There's not one in the midst of us all doing one right now. We have talked a little bit about doing some of Dr. Chuck's A to Z. I'm not quite there yet with that part of it. I've got some personal things that I'm going through, but I know in the new year, probably 2024, that's more of what I'll be looking at, because I do enjoy teaching. I mean, I think teacher is just a natural thing with me. Like, I taught the kids, I was a makeup teacher. So, that's just part of me. And I really do enjoy watching other people thrive at what they love to do. So, but as of right now, no.
Because I say that because it's always, this may or may not come out right. Sometimes I just say stuff. So it's always good to bring new blood in. I'm going to say it that way. So, right, new perspectives, new experiences. I mean, because I do that even when I'm doing a retreat. I'm supposed to be the facilitator. I'll ask people, do you have anything to can you expand on what I just said? How do you feel about what I just said? Do you have a different perspective, right? Because some people will hear it from them where they wouldn't hear it from me, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I see you doing that. I see you teaching people and helping teach. Some people don't like the word teach, but I see you helping people, who are trying to come online with their gifts and trying to trust their gifts and expand their gifts. I can see you helping people do that. So that's why I was asking.
I have done it in the past. I've had like little circles and stuff like that. And I enjoy it. It's just, right now, I think I'm trying to focus more on growing and getting not back to, but more into who I am now. And that's going to be an even better teacher than I was a few years ago through the experiences I'm going through now. And I think that's a big part of the experiences that I'm having, because I've had like this past few months even just big shifts of that doesn't work for me, but yes, that works for me. And with the radio show, about 5 or 6 years ago now, I want to say, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but when Elizabeth first came to me and said, I want to do a Halloween show, a psychic medium Halloween show, where we get on and we do calls and we do readings on it. I was like, you know what? That's something I never thought I wanted to do, but I got on there, kind of got a little hooked with it. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then later on, we did another one about a year later. Hadn't really did anything in between that, but a year later, we did another Halloween one. And it was like, I think we need to do a psychic night. Elizabeth came to me and said, I think we need to do a psychic night. So we started doing psychic Sundays. And got a little taste for that. And then we went ahead, because we were finding that we needed a mediumship, because we were getting, mediumship takes a little longer to connect and stuff. So we tried to separate the two, so we could take a little longer and do those. And now I'm a part of the paranormal, the Crossings Paranormal show, and just sitting there listening to Dr. Chuck and some of the things that he's done in his life. I'm like, wow, okay, that's just fascinating in itself.
Right.
And then, and then we do a VIP night. So, those right now are my focuses, and growing that, and growing my personal readings again. I kind of got away from that side of things, but I find that is and I do more coaching in that sometimes than I do readings. So I think that might be a little bit where my teaching comes in.
Yeah. So for you then, I always tell people that when I actually post the podcast, I also put some links for whoever the guest was. And so you mentioned that you're updating your website. I'm going to go ahead and put the link there, though. Is that okay? Because somebody may listen. Yeah, somebody may listen to the podcast 30 days from now, and and the link would be working, right? So
it will actually probably. Sorry, I didn't mean to. It'll probably be up by Wednesday, because, like I said, Jen had just done, and she sent it as you had asked me for the link. She had sent it back and said, well, I went over it. I did a few little, whatever her words were. Jen's got her way with words and how she puts things. So it was her little razzle dazzle word that she puts there. So, but she had finished. She had finished that, taking what I did, and a few tweaks and all that. So it's ready, and my husband's actually helping me with that part. And then I've got some pictures and some links of other people that I want to put on there. So it'll probably be finished by Wednesday.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead then and put the link for your website. And you had also told me, I forgot what link she sent. Hey, can you send me a link for the radio shows?
It's on there. The picture of that
there?
card.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's the blogtalkradio.com/make it sound work. On the picture,
So
I just took a picture
sent it on Messenger or what?
When you asked me for the link, I took a picture of the back of my business card.
Okay,
and
I got it.
That has my Facebook link, and that has the radio show Blog Talk on there.
Okay, I got it. And you mentioned something about your phone number. I always hesitate giving out people's phone numbers, but yeah, so it's okay to give people your phone number.
That's usually the texting is usually how people say, hey, I'd like a reading. Emails for some reason are getting lost lately. And so I'm having to go in and see, if they're in the trash and stuff. And sometimes they're just not coming through. That's part of why I'm redoing the website, is because the link for that was kind of losing some of my stuff. And somebody would, hey, you didn't get my message.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll put your phone number. Can you close that door, please? Sorry.
That's okay.
The dog was going nuts. So I'll put your phone number there, and then if at any point you want me to remove it, I can do that.
No problem.
but I'm gonna, my battery's going dead on the phone, besides the dog barking. I'm going to, trying to reach my cable for the phone. Do you pick up things with your feet? I pick up everything with my feet.
All the time. Yes, monkey feet. My nephew's 5 years old, and he's learned monkey feet.
Yeah, I've got monkey feet. Absolutely. Yep. So, so I'm gonna stop the recording. But is there any last thing that you want to say before I stop the recording?
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm very honored.
Yeah. Well, I always enjoy it because it's like a conversation between two people and other people are eavesdropping, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, sometimes I have a tendency to go off in one direction. So I'm like, I wouldn't go off in one direction too far, but that's just who I am. So it's kind of like having a conversation with me. You got to reel me back in.
Yeah. Well, that's how my conversations go anyway. Multidimensional beings. It's like,
I would just, yeah, it is. It's like my brain wants to go one direction, and then, oh wait, I better say this or better. So, but yeah. I'm hoping that we got out there what we needed to get out there, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
And if we didn't, there's always a part 2. So, yeah,
I'm around.
We can always do a part 2. We can do a Keri 1.2. So, yeah.
That sounds good.
Oh, I see. The mowers are here. That's what the dog was going nutso about. Okay. It's going to get
mowers were here this morning, so we got past that. She's sleeping now.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us and for agreeing to come on and share with everybody. And they need to look for you on your website, on the radio show, on our psychic, Southern Fried Psychic Night. I'm so excited about that one.
I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about the panel of people that we have doing this. It's so unique, and each one of us has a different way of bringing things through. Different. You're going to do the light language at the beginning, and Dina's going to do the drumming. That right there, that gets your light language gets my heart vibrate in a good way. It's almost like the first time my heart vibrated, I was like, wait a second, am I having palpitations or something? But it wasn't. It was literally my heart feeling the energy and the movement of what you were saying and what was coming through. So I'm excited for people to experience that live.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh yeah. I mean, because I'm intuitive, but like you were saying about when you first, when Elizabeth or Chuck or whoever it was first asked you to join them, and you were like, I can't do this. I am not on the same. I kind of feel like that as far as the Southern Fried Psychics, because I was thinking, I've done readings for a really, really long time, and I incorporate that in almost everything I do. But I don't know about, that gallery, but
each one of us has something so different and so unique to bring that it makes sense. But probably in our heads, when Dina first came to us, I was like, wait, you want me to be on what? With that again, with dot. So I get where you're coming from with that. But with the light language and the energy of that alone, with what you bring with that experience, I wish I could. You have to experience it.
We'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
Because so you were talking about putting your little ego to the side. That's what I do, right? As a channel, I put my little ego to the side, and then I let whatever it is that needs to come through. And maybe my part there is to open it up with the light language, right? Because when I do readings, I open it up with light language, because that's how I connect. Some people connect with cards, or whatever ruins, but I connect through the light language. That's what gets me out of my own way, is the light language. And so I know that Dina has a vision for that, and I trust her vision, right? I trust her that she, she knew that bringing all the pieces of us together was going to produce something. So I'm holding trust in that, and I'm excited to see how it all comes together. Really,
I'm always surprised though on how people always say I don't get anything, or that I don't read it how you guys do. But then when they're in a group like that, it all of a sudden comes. So I'm interested to see for you how that works for you.
Right. Yeah, because when we were doing the run through and you guys were already seeing spirits that were there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I was seeing orbs. But orbs as in star beings,
Mm-hmm.
I was seeing that part of it. And so I think that it's all going to play a part, I hope. I'm excited for it. And speaking of that, I'm going to put that link on the bottom of the podcast too, of your episode, the link
Perfect.
for the Southern Fried Psychic. So, because that's sort of the next big event that you'll be at, right?
Yes, that will be the next big event. Yeah.
Well, you know what I forgot to ask you is, you mentioned that I think you mentioned that you're just beginning to get back into doing readings. Are you doing readings at any of the psychic fairs or wellness events?
I do the Shambhala wellness every 3 months. I think when we're doing our next one is in October. We're actually going to do a Halloween event, and we're going to dress up and do our stuff there. But Shambhala right now Shambhala is the main one that I do. But I still keep with my one-on-one sessions, my phone readings, and I know some people like to have them on FaceTime, so I do those. But that's where I'm at right now. But I hope to do. There's one fair that I'm looking at that she hasn't quite decided if she's going to do a second one or not. But if she does the second one, it'll be in McKinney.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll watch for it. The mowers are driving me nuts outside, so I'm going to stop the recording.
I understand.
Here they go, right beside me, right outside my window. So thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you really, really soon.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for my Patricia hug.
Okay. See you soon.
All right. Thank you.